What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Part 2 of the countertop. In the first part, I'll drop a link down in the description below. We cut the countertop to length. Now what we're going to do is, since this is going to be a countertop that's going to have a laundry sink in there, we're going to trace it out and then cut the hole for it so we can drop it in. So we'll go through, I'll show you what tools you need, and then also I printed out the instructions for this specific sink because every sink is different and it has specific specs in here on how to cut the sink and where to measure to make sure that it's cut to the right length and width so that the hole's not too big. Alright, so here's basically what you're going to need. You need a jigsaw, whether it's cordless or corded, it doesn't matter. You need tape measure, painter's tape, drill with a couple of screws, a scrap piece of wood. I'll tell you what that's for in a second. And then this is one of the most important things because this blade is specifically made to cut laminate. The last thing I forgot to mention that you're going to need for this, you're also going to need a drill bit because when you get your lines marked, you're going to need this to drill 4 holes in each corner. That way you can get your jigsaw blade in there. And the reason for that is most of the time, I don't know if you guys can see it in the camera, but jigsaw blades cut on the upstroke. That's why the teeth of this blade are facing this way. Now this laminate blade is different. The teeth of the blade are actually facing down this way. And that's because what Diablo calls it is a bidirectional blade. So this way, by using this blade, it prevents any chipping in the countertop when you're cutting, because you don't want that. When you're cutting the sink hole out, not too big of a deal because you're not going to see it, but still you don't want to do that. You want to try to get as fine of a cut as possible. So that's why we're going with this blade. Okay, now the scrap piece of wood, that's what this is for. So when you make these 2 cuts, you're going to secure the board to the inside part of the countertop. And the reason for that is, if you don't, what'll happen is once you start to get close to the end, it's going to want to break off, and you want to prevent that from happening. So this board, you put that on there, screw it in, it will prevent the countertop from breaking off before your cut's complete. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the sink upside down on the countertop, and we're going to trace it out. But before we do that, I want to make a note of this, okay? Here's our first line we're going to make with the sink. And then this next line is the actual line we're going to cut because we're going to go 5/8 in from that outside line that we made, and I'll show you that. Okay, I've got the sink upside down, and here's what I did to make sure it's centered on the countertop and it's right where I want it. And all I did was I just pretty much set it down, kind of eyeballed it first, and then took my tape measure and measured, okay? So on this side, if you look at the tape measure, I got 3 9/16. No, it's hard to tell because of the camera, but it is. I'm gonna come over to this side and I'm gonna measure 3 9/16. Okay, so I'm right on from here to here. And I already measured the front too, and I know here by looking down, I'm at 1 1/4 on this end, and 1 1/4 on this end. Now after you measure, one other thing you can do is you can take the framing square that you used to cut the countertop with to length, and set this on there, put this up against the back, and then you'll pretty much know if your sink is square or not to the countertop. According to the instructions for this sink, I'm gonna draw the outside of the sink first to this edge, okay? Then I'm gonna go 5/8 in from that and draw another line. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make a couple marks here on all 4 sides of the sink, and then put my painter's tape down, lay the sink back down, get it all squared up again, and then make my line. So this way I'm not putting a line directly on the sink with a pencil and then having to erase it later. And I use a pencil. If you have a hard time seeing a pencil, you could use a marker, but I'm not using a marker because I don't want to get any of the tip of the marker onto the actual lip of the sink. I didn't mention this earlier, but you know what? If you guys want, use the framing square. Make it easier on yourself because you can line up to this line instead of using your tape measure and going like this and trying to get your 5/8. You can use your framing square and do it too. It'll make it a little easier on you. And then what you can do is put it up here at the top of the countertop and line up your 2 marks and then draw a straight line. All right, let's drill these 4 holes. One thing too to remember when you're doing this, go slow because you don't want the drill bit sometimes wants to walk on you, so just go nice and slow. Okay, as you can see, there you go. I'm right where I need to be. I got all 4 drilled. Now we'll get ready to cut it. I got my scrap board in so that my countertop doesn't break off when I finish my cuts. Now I'm going to cut the front and the back, but real quick, I just want to mention, this might sound silly, but whatever you do, make sure you put the screws on the inside of your cut line. Last thing I want to mention, okay? Here's my line I'm cutting, and you want to make sure when you lay your sink on here, you got enough clearance to cut it with your jigsaw. If you don't have enough clearance, you won't be able to make this cut. So keep that in mind when you're laying the sink down on the countertop before you make your lines. Should be able to just lift this right out. And there you go. That's why you put that board down. It's perfect. Now that we got it cut and taken out, I'll go through and clean up these corners a little bit, and it'll be the moment of truth to see if the sink fits in here like it should. There you go. Like a glove. All right, guys, so that's it for this video. Don't forget, if you got a question about how I did this, drop it in the comment section below. Give me a thumbs up, hit that bell for notifications, subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you on the next video.